Hello there folks, and welcome to yet another of my after build report reviews. Today we're going to be looking at the FA-78-7, otherwise known as the full armored 7th Gundam. This is the 7th iteration of the RX-78-2 design, part of the mobile suit variant report, manga, and art books that were produced back in the 1990s and 80s, I believe, and it was just a lot of concept art for different variations on the RX-72 and different mobile suits, and this one was the 7th iteration. I believe it may have been the final. I don't think there was an 8, but if there is, I'll have to get my hands on that one too, because my goal currently is to collect all of the RX-78 variants, all the way from the RX-78-1 rollout colors from the mobile suit Gundam, the Origin P Bandai release that's coming up, all the way to this one. And I've got all of them so far, except for a G3 and the rollout colors, which hasn't been released yet, but I've got a G3 on the way, so I'm kind of happy about that. This one, however, we're going to break down. We're going to go through the same 4 steps that we always do in these reviews. We're going to talk about the build, we're going to talk about the articulation, we're going to talk about the accessories, and we're going to talk about some final thoughts, not necessarily in that order. So as always, let's go ahead and start off by talking about the build. The build on this kit is actually quite nice. For a kit from 2009, you would expect there to be more problems than there are with this thing, or more limitations, or more of the old school style build where it's simply a peg into a polycap ball joint, but that's not necessarily the case. Sure, you do still have the polycaps for the shoulders, but they do butterfly out like more modern high grades do. The upper thighs actually do have a separate piece that connects into the hip, so it's a universal joint, so you get quite a lot of movement out of that, and that upper thigh rotation, as you would expect from more modern iterations of builds. The backpack attaches on your standard 2-peg backpack attachment, so you can swap this out with other ones that share that same sort of backpack jointing, which is nice. And the connections for the 2 bits that stick off of the backpack are quite sturdy. You've got your power pack on the one side and your giant friggin' cannon on the other side. I'm a bit disappointed that you can't actually swap sides with them. They're not universal. They are stuck on the sides that they are built on, but other than that, they're fine. The helmet part is actually a single solid molded piece, so you're not even going to get too much in the way of seam lines there. However, you are going to get a couple of nasty seam lines up the front of the legs on the shins. That's really the only majorly noticeable seam lines though, unless you get around to the back of the kit, where you've got a noticeable seam line up the middle of that back thruster / fuel tank area, and very noticeable ones on the backs of the legs. But since they're on the backs of the kit, I'm personally not that concerned with them. Your mileage may vary, but they don't bother me all that much. Everything else on this kit is pretty great in terms of build. There's a lot of sculpted detail on this kit that you can get in there and paint up and customize if you want. Part separation is fairly good, especially when you get into the leg armors around those thrusters and when you get up into the forearms and shoulders. Now, there are quite a number of stickers that come with this kit. As you can see here, I didn't use any of them except for the eye stickers and the sticker that goes into the crotch for that yellow V symbol there, and even that, despite how bad that sticker looks, it's covered up by that blue armor piece on the crotch, so not a major loss and not a major problem. Other than that, I have no problems with this build. I think it's a really solid kit. It's a fun kit to build, and I think honestly, if you pick this one up, if you can find it on the market anywhere, go ahead and do so. It is a very satisfying, very nice high grade that's going to give you a lot of joy as you build it, despite how simple it is. And if you're into customizing and you're into custom painting, there's plenty of things here to play around with. So yeah, again, fairly solid build. I'm going to give it a big thumbs up. Of course, next we need to talk about the accessories that come with this kit. Despite everything that looks like it is on this kit, the only things that I would count as true accessories that come with this are your 2 sets of hands that you have. You have 2 holding fist hands and 2 widespread open hands, and you have a shield. The shield has a connector piece that attaches to the back of either arm, and it has 2 different pegs that you can attach the shield to give it whatever look you want or however you want this thing to hold its shield. It also comes with a small rifle that is separate from the big gun on the shoulder, and while it is simply a big slab of gray plastic, it does have a nice yellow piece for a sight and a little flip out handle that your other hand can grab if you'd like. Other than that, that's really all you're going to get in the way of accessories with this kit. There's no beam sabers, there's no beam effect parts, there's just guns and a shield and a couple of hands. But they all do their job quite nicely. The hands hold the gun really well, the shield stays pegged in fairly solidly, no complaints there, so enjoy those when you get them. Next up, let's talk about the articulation on this kit. You can get the full bends out of the knees and the arms, almost, not entirely fully. However, in the arms, if you're holding that rifle, that butt of that rifle is going to get in the way of the full bend, but you can always take that out. The articulation on this kit overall is a bit of a mixed bag, though. You have really good articulation in the upper thighs, the way those universal joints connect to the peg. You've got a bit of a swivel joint inside of the hips to make it so that you can rotate those forward and back for some pretty dynamic poses there. The knees bend really nicely, and then you get to the feet, which don't do much of anything. You can get a little bit more movement out of them if you really try, but by and large, because of the bulk of the armor around the ankles, you're not going to get a lot of movement out of those feet, even though they are double jointed with a normal pivot up in the shin area, and then down in the foot itself is on a ball joint. The arms, however, are pretty darn flexible. The shoulder sort of blocks a lot of arm raising poses. You can get it parallel to the ground, but that's about as far as you're going to go. It's not going to go all the way up over the head, but you can rotate it around and get the raised arm look from that. You've also got really good swivel at the top of the bicep, and you also have really good articulation in the elbows, which doesn't leave a lot of gaps. But much like when you get to the ends of the legs and are disappointed in the feet, you're also going to get to the ends of the arms and be a bit disappointed in the hands. Now, they're on ball joints that go up into the wrist, but the peg is either too short or the poly cap that they go into is set too far back into the wrist. I'm not sure which, and that really limits your ability to move the hand other than rotation. If you try to bend it too much and flex it, you're gonna have those pop out, which is really unfortunate. You also get some articulation on those thrusters on the back. They can move around a little bit. They're on a ball joint, but again, that ball sits too far deep into the socket, and you're not gonna get a lot of movement out of it except for more rotation. You do have a fair amount of articulation in the gun on the backpack. It is on a ball joint. It can wiggle around a little bit other than just going up and down. So you do get some good aiming with that, but it's not quite what maybe it could be. Again, that ball sits way too far into that socket. You can pull it out a little bit, but again, you're taking your chances with it popping out completely. The waist is a little bit blocked by the armor, so you're not going to get full waist rotation. You do get some good side-to-side lean with it, but you don't get a lot of front and back ab crunch, which is kind of weird, but that's just sort of how this kit is built in the waist section. Other than that, the articulation is overall, I'd say, a good B+, not quite into the A level. It's not the most articulated kit I've ever built, but it is far from the worst, and it could have been a lot worse given the bulk of the armor on this guy. So for what they managed to pull off with it, again, solid B+, you will not be disappointed. So given everything that we've talked about so far, what are my final thoughts on this kit? I really love this kit. Again, articulation, solid B+, not going to disappoint, could be better, but not terrible. I think the weapons look really cool. I think the shield is really well done with how color separated it is. I think the thrusters on the back are really awesome. Even the backpack has a lot of character over your normal RX-78-2 backpack. I think the leg armor is really cool. I just love this kit. The aesthetics of it are amazing. What I don't like are the stickers. So much of this could have been just slightly more part separated to not have to deal with that big sheet of stickers that you get, and those stickers really aren't all that great looking, but they're serviceable. However, I recommend doing what I did. Grab yourself a little bit of gray paint. I'd use some silver and just really go to town on this thing, hitting those areas that those stickers normally would cover. There's enough surface detail that you're not going to be in danger of really screwing something up and overpainting it or underpainting it. So really just go to town. This kit offers a lot for the price and for the few runners that that come in the box, and if you were just to look at this thing as you pull it out, you're gonna go, man, this thing is really simple, but it's not, and it is very elegant. And for that, I'm gonna give it high marks. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 7 RX-78 variants. It is so far my favorite. Mudrock is a close second, down in position 6. We'll see where the others fall. I haven't built the 4 and the 5 yet. I haven't gotten my hands on the G3 yet. The Origin RX-78-2 is just a solid RX-78. G40 is a really fantastic kit, but I'm not putting it in the same category. Haven't built the Revive yet, but I'll let you know when I do. And again, the Beyond Global kind of sits out there with the G40 doing its own thing, so it doesn't get rated in this whole scale. But so far, 7 out of 7, solid kit. Go grab yourself one if you can find it. It is a little bit hard to find these days. Hopefully it'll get a reprint, because I think more people really need to have their hands on this thing. There's my final thoughts. Take that as you will. Please feel free to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, do all of those things that all these YouTubers keep asking you to do for their channels other than pay me money, because I really don't care about your cash. Most importantly, keep building, everybody. Have a nice evening.